Hi, my name is Matthew from Friendly Transport, and I'm going to show you today how to unload a pallet safely off a vehicle. First thing, you need to make sure high vis as usual, steel toe caps and gloves. First of all, you have to switch the vehicle off, and then if you see down the bottom here, we have a switch for putting the tail lift isolator on, and that's where we're ready to get out the vehicle. When you get out the vehicle, 3 points of contact at all times. Keep it 1 point, feet down 2, find the other hand rest and get yourself out nice and safely. Mount the vehicle, lock the vehicle, keep the keys nice and secure in your pocket so nobody can get into your vehicle. When you arrive on site, you've got to consider you've got to get the pallet off your vehicle onto the ground. Try to look for smooth surfaces so when you get it off the tail lift onto the ground, you can still roll it with the wheels. Because if you're in chippings or mud, it's just not going to work. You may need to do a curbside delivery. Make sure it's flat, and where you may get land which is sloping, try to get the advantage so you don't have to push uphill. But of course, if you've got too much of a hill and it's going down, the pallet may run away with you. So you need to consider all these points before trying to make the tail lift operation. As a company, don't carry hazardous freight, but you're allowed to do so in limited quantities. And some pallets will actually display a diamond shape. You can always check your pallets, and if you come across a diamond shape, always check the instructions and check with the management to ensure that you're allowed to carry that safely. I've got quite a few pallets here that's going on vehicles, and I'm going to assess them for tail lift operation. First pallet here, I call this an ugly pallet because it's not strapped, it looks really heavy. I need to check the weight. It's got 1,200 on the label, and it looks like a pallet of logs. This is going to be quite an awkward pallet to get off because it's very heavy, and I'll have to consider that when I'm taking it off. If we go to the second pallet, we've got hand roll, 600 kilos, still a heavy, it's not heavy individually, so I'll probably get the delivery point, I'll probably take a quarter of it off, leave it 3/4 on to make my time more useful. Looking at other heavier pallets, I got one of 6 pallets, the total weight is 3 tons 600, so individually they're small pallets, quite heavy, but they're low to the ground, so the centre of gravity is lower, so they're going to be safe individually to take off. If we come over to this pallet here, we've got a pallet of water. But again, we've got a ton pallet, and they're not the most stable of pallets, so you have to consider this, whether the operation at the delivery point is going to have a safe level ground to take it off. Otherwise, you've got the opportunity to split it down and do a half and half. Now, the first thing you're going to need is your gloves, and we'll go to the back now and show you exactly how to use the tail lift. When you're using any equipment, you need to familiarise yourself with them, how the controls work, where they are, what they do. Inside this particular one, there's a switch over, so you can use the switching inside. Now when you're using the switches on the outside, you've got to toggle the switch to use the outside switches. So you need to know all these, where they all fold out, how it all works. Exactly the same as a pallet truck. The pallet truck is a simple device. It's got a drive position in the middle, which we call neutral, where you can use it at will. You push it down to raise the tips of the forklift type attachment to lift your pallet up. You put the handle into that position, you put it all the way down to make it go down. And we'll show you how that works when we get into the vehicle now. Before using your pallet truck, make sure there's no oil leaking from the hydraulics and there's no cracks and all the wheels are working in order. Here we have 2,500 kilos, this is the maximum load on this pallet truck. And if you notice, this pallet truck has become defective and the wheels are now useless. So we'll render this now for the workshop to repair. Before you use the tail lift, you need to give it a quick visual check over. Check along using your hands, pointing out to most of the components, spring, bushes, arms. Make sure everything's in its place, make sure there's no cracks, and if everything looks in order, then that's great. But if you do find anything that's wrong, report it to your manager straight away. Look out for the safe loading of the tail lift. You can see by here 1 ton 500. Right, I made sure there's no traffic, there's no members of the public or any staff in the way of the rear of the vehicles where I can follow my tail lift down. I've got to keep my feet somewhere a couple of feet away from the vehicle and not to the back of the vehicle where everything folds out. So I use one finger, press it out, and then keep myself in a safe position. I'm going to follow this vehicle out. That means I'm going to get my hands in there. I want to make sure I don't trap my hands in anywhere. This tail lift has quite a lot of distance, so it gives me quite a lot of room to get in. some tailors are clutch where you may catch your hand on the top here. So you need to use the handles where they're available. And you after the temporary tail lift now is on the floor, with the column tail lift, you would have dropped it out, and as you load it down, you'd be out at its fullest. This is now still folded in half, so you're just going to unfold the other extra half. Keep your feet away, make sure there's nobody around, and there we go, let go the last second. There's out at its fullest. Right, I'm going up into the vehicle now, so I get onto the tail lift, and make sure the tail is flat on the floor before I start. There is actually marker points on this tail lift where you should put your feet, but it's about a foot either side. I can't stress enough, but you need to be reaching in with one finger. Do not lean on the body, put your arm on the body, because as it's going up, everything's changing its dimensions. You really need to keep your body in a safe position. So keep it safe, stretch over to the button, and then lift yourself up. As it's going up, I keep really looking to make sure nobody's arriving, making sure my body is not getting in any way at all. Slightly at the bend my knees at the end there, because obviously the buttons are getting a bit lower. So you need to consider everything as it's moving up and down. It's really important as well to make sure that nobody else operates your tables. Only yourself should be operating it. Let's imagine this is your foot. You put that in there, somebody else is using your table, you're aware your foot is dangling in between the guillotine area. So as you go down, squash the foot completely. If somebody else was using the tail lift buttons, they wouldn't be able to react quick enough to stop. So make sure that nobody but yourself operates this tail lift. But before you actually unload anything at all or go any further ahead, you need to make sure the paperwork related to the goods that you've got on board, the customer's happy to accept them. There'd be nothing worse than actually taking your pallet off and having to put it back on. It saves all the time. Right, a couple of things to remember before you unload a vehicle. If you're a lone worker, you're delivering to somewhere where there's nobody about. I got my radio with me and I got my mobile phone with me, so that means in the event of an accident, at least there's some way of me being able to contact somebody. Second and most important thing to remember when you're on the vehicle, you're working at a height. If you're walking backwards, there's a possibility that you may fall off the vehicle and injure yourself. Always try to walk forwards where you can. If you're going to walk backwards, make sure you have enough space before you get to the edge of the vehicle. But recommendation, always pushing forward and always walking forward. If you're walking backwards at all, try to get yourself to turn as soon as possible. Right, this is the pallet I'm going to take off. The pallet timber is going to be about 3/4 of a ton. I'm trying to assess what I'm going to need to get this off. If I go in this way, that means I've got the longest way here. That means I'm going to have the overhang over the tail lift, and I don't want that. So I'm going to turn this pallet around first, then pick it up the narrowest way, so it makes it safer when I get down to the tail lift, and I'll explain that when we get down there. I've got my pallet chuck in a safe position. I'm now going to get it out of the pallet chock. I simply just lift it up slightly, push it forward, take the pallet chock, and put it somewhere where it's not going to get in my way at all. And that's ready for now to get the pallet off. I'm going to pallet chuck this pallet to spin it round. If I keep ramming it doesn't want to go in. So I put the handle down, I push on the handle, which lifts the tips of the pallet chuck, I push it over the timbers, I can now put it down. It's going down in the middle slat. Again, lift the tips up and push it in. I push it all the way, I push it back slightly so I can make sure the runners are on the floor when I jack up the handle. You lift off the floor, I don't want it to get too high, because the higher it goes, the more top it's got as you're going back and forth. I'm just going to spin this pallet around quickly, making sure there's nothing behind me. Spin the pallet around, push forward, make sure I'm going to space to get the pallet truck out. Push it down, bring the pallet truck out, sometimes you can still get stuck. So I need to push it down the floor again. Lift the tips off the floor so I can get it out easily. Now I'm going to pick it up to the narrow end. I don't need to lift it up now because the slats are further to the floor and the rollers will roll straight over. Put it nice up, down with the handle, pop it up. It's just off the ground. Put it to neutral and I'm ready to go. That's a heavy pallet, so I'm going to pull first. I'm going to hover my hand over the down button because that really is my brake at the end of the day. There are no brakes. If I was rolling off, I just push the handle and it'll stop immediately. Right, turning the pallet round in the vehicle as much as possible so I'm not working to the edge. And we'll go down to the bottom now. Still hovering over the brake system. Nice and slowly. There's no rush. The more you rush, the more things will happen. I'm going to try and explain why I wanted the pallet on my pallet truck the narrow way. It's because when I bring it onto the tail lift, I want to turn it so I'm standing in this position when it's on the tail lift. If I brought it the long ways, it would be wider, it'd be sticking over my load centre on the tail lift. So I'm bringing it on narrow ways, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that now. Right, the first thing, I'm looking to make sure there's no traffic and make sure there's nobody in the area. If there's somebody in the area, I've got to explain. Excuse me, do you mind moving back? Because I'm about to put this pallet on the tail lift. If anything happens, I don't want you to injure yourself. It's quite easy to say, and it's got to be said. I can't stress enough how heavy this pallet is. I'm not going to come straight at it, I'm going to come at a slight angle, so my wheels will go across the gap without it getting stuck in the gap. And here's a real heavy pallet coming off the tail lift, and how to set it up on the tail lift to keep yourself safe. First of all, I'm not going backwards onto it, I'm pushing onto it. I'm checking that nobody's in the area, and I'm safe enough to take the pallet off. The pallet, I'm going to have to give it a little bit of a shove to get it rolling. Now you must consider to pull the brake handle up to put the pallet on the floor, which acts like a brake. So I'm pushing, bring the handle down, get it rolling, use a bit more, slightly more again. Now it's coming off the edge. I've got control of it now, I've got the speed of it. I'm turning it, and I want to make sure it ends up on my side as much as possible. My body is still on the lorry. I'm now in a happy position. I'm putting the pallet truck to the floor of the deck. My feet are still inside the body. If anything happened, I'm still in a safe place. Nobody else in the area because I've made sure. That's safe.
Here is a good example to show you how you can overload a tail lift. Imagine the battery is 1 ton and imagine the ruler is a 1 ton capacity tail lift. In this position it is quite safe. If however you had a long tail lift with the same capacity of a ton and this was double the length, you would overload the axle and the tail lift would be unsafe. So where you do have long tail lifts, always keep your load to the heel of the vehicle so you do not overload the tail lift capacity.
Now I feel it's safe enough to come down with the tail lift, but you could actually put the tail lift down first and then get onto your bottom, swing your legs out and get off. But I'm getting onto the tail lift and making sure I'm in a safe position, far enough away from the guillotine edge and the edge of the vehicle, the pallet safely on the floor. Get the down button, down we go. I don't want to step back at this stage because the tail is still going down. And make sure that it's flat to the floor and that's it down safely. Now I use this tail lift quite regular. I know there's a bit of an angle to get this pallet onto the flat surface. The angle is going to help me get the movement so I can get it actually off the tail lift. So I'm quite happy with that. But if this pallet was tall, it's going to be top heavy. Now I would consider that before putting it on. If it was top heavy, it might be better for me to actually take the goods off, put them on another pallet, so that I can get 2 pallets off rather than a top heavy and putting me in danger. So let's get this pallet off. Again, into the raised position, jacking it up, then she's in the same position. As soon as I turn the wheels, she's going to start to go, but I'm going to use that momentum to my advantage. But I'm going to spin it off as quick as I can right now, so I have the 2 wheels still on the back of the tail lift, so I can take control of it. I stop it there, it's in the same position, I'm going to turn it, face it towards me, let the momentum, always hovering over the lower button, so I can put it on the floor and put it in a safe position. Right, I've done my delivery, the customer's happy. I'm going to put the tail lift away. So again, keep your feet back, make sure you're in a safe environment. Let's get this tail lift folded up slowly. Watch it, you leave your fingers in. Down. Look for handles to use. There's the handle coming up. Now release it, fold the tail lift into its position. That's it to its in position. Before using the hydraulics of the tail lift, making sure I'm safe, there's no traffic or anybody that can get trapped, keeping my eyes peeled. I use one finger on the button, making sure none of my bodies are actually in the area, my feet in the safe position. And up we go. You hear the electric, pushing the motor. That different tone means that the hydraulics are finished. Do not keep the button in, otherwise you overload the motor and it'll burn out. All you need to do now is go to the vehicle and switch the isolator off, then nobody can use this tail lift.
Better still, whenever you can use the opportunity to use a forklift, don't use the tail lift. This is much easier.
Never jump from the raised tail lift. Always ride down on a tail lift or use a ladder if provided. Never pull the pallet backwards onto the tail lift with your back to the edge. Don't stand too close to the tail lift edge when moving pallets on it. Be careful not to slip on a wet tail lift edge. Don't use the tail lift close to cars or people. Keep people clear. If in a public place, ensure that there are no people in the working area that may be struck by falling freight or by the action of the tail lift working. Never allow any untrained person onto the back of your truck or onto the tail lift. Never move the pallet using the banding straps or by pushing or pulling the pallet or freight. Never allow any untrained person to push or pull the pallet. If you are having difficulties moving the pallet or delivering it safely, please contact the office. If you cannot deliver safely for any reason, contact the office. On home deliveries, make sure customers are asked to keep children and pets clear of the working area. As you work, look out for anyone coming too near. If anyone comes into this area, stop. Ask them to move before you continue. This is what can happen.
Demonstrated a little bit about how to use a tail lift and a little bit about the pallet jack. They're both simple devices. This goes up and down, that goes up and down, forwards, backwards, all controlled by yourself. What's really important is for you to assess and plan ahead. Imagine the worst case scenario of a pallet falling off, for example, and falling onto somebody. That's what you've got to plan around. Make sure it doesn't happen. Assess it, plan it, execute it, do your job properly, and everybody goes home safe.